Childhood is about the chuckles, laughs, learning, growing and exploring. And the last thing we would want is that being snuffed out. But what does one do when schools become unsafe spaces? While the nation outrages, we are going one step forward tonight to look into what you and I, as parents, as caretakers, as school stakeholders can do to ensure another child is not raped or sexually abused in schools. We are focusing on children from age of 2 to 10 years, largely the kindergarten and primary classes. Their communication is critical, but expressions are varied. In Badlapur, nursery kid was raped. A 3-year-old was raped and a 4-year-old sexually abused. A 4-year-old went on to raise a complaint in the school. She complained about bad touches by Dada. Dada, in reference here, was the man, the male contractual cleaner in the school. Dada tickled my private parts. Dada removed my clothes. It's heartbreaking to read the communication by the child in the FIR, filed by the parents who, by the way, were made to wait for 12 hours before the police even filed the FIR. Reading the FIR was tough because the language showed the innocence of the child. But she was a victim, too small to be called even a survivor of an act of violation. The gravity that she may not even be able to understand, but still tried explaining what happened. There's been massive outrage. The Maharashtra government has been forced to act. Vishaka committees have been set up as the immediate fallout of the Badlapur horrors. Equal to Supreme Court's Vishaka judgment for workplace guidelines. Now, according to the guidelines, all schools are required to establish Vishaka committees. May I say, it does sound fancy, but how much of that will be a reality? And why I'm asking that is because these guidelines are not the first of its kinds. These guidelines have been there, have been repeated, and have been brought in again and again, but they have been violated again and again, and there have been no checks on these. So you may have a fancy name like Vishaka committees for schools. How is this going to be checked? Well, they've issued guidelines. Schools must install functional CCTV cameras. Schools with non-functional cameras to face penalties. Every school must have a complaint box where children can discreetly report issues, and principals are made. The onus has now been put on the principals to regularly check these boxes. Principals are responsible for addressing concerns promptly. In fact, schools are supposed to conduct special classes. Special classes include classes on good touch and bad touch, and to collaborate with NGOs over the implementation. Let's face the fact, this is not Greek or French. This is what everybody knows, and this is what every school must have. The fact that this gets violated every few months is the concern that we are trying to address tonight. But as I said, this isn't only about Badlapur. Just this year, and we've picked out very few cases that show different aspects of the sexual abuse that children go through, all of them minors in the cases that we have picked up. In Krishnagiri, Tamil Nadu, 13-year-old girl was sexually assaulted just this month. 12 others were harassed. The incident took place during a so-called fake NCC camp, which was organized by a politician and school authorities. The prime suspect and the school authorities have been arrested. Around 11 of them have been arrested. Then there was another case in Bengaluru in June 2024, where a nursery school child was sexually assaulted. A 3-year-old girl was assaulted by a staff member. The incident was confirmed by the doctors. and the female teacher was booked in this particular case. Mumbai, July this year, 3-year-old sexually abused by 3 women caretakers. FIR filed, accused has been arrested. And then, of course, we know what's happened in Bulandshahr. You, of course, have Bulandshahr in Uttar Pradesh, March 26th this year, where a principal abused students aged 9 to 12. The principal showed indecent videos. The principal has been arrested, sent to jail, case registered under IPC POCSO. From bullying to differential treatment, sexual abuse, violence, drug abuse, neglect, emotional abuse in schools, what must we do? Can we do anything? Can we do anything to ensure this doesn't happen again? What are the mandatory drills that you should ensure in your schools where your children are studying? More importantly, how must this communication work in schools and at homes? What signs are to be picked up and where to intercept? I'm being joined by a great panel at this time, and hopefully our viewers will be able to take away some very, very strong points. Geetanjali Kumar is a CBSE for schools, is a counsellor for CBSE schools. Dr. Sudha Acharya is a chairperson for the National Progressive School Conference. Abinaya KC is the founder for Heart on Sleeve Counselling Services, is also an author for children's books. Advocate Anubha Srivastava, Sahai, who is the president for India-wide Parents Association, and PK Jain, who is a former additional DGP for Maharashtra. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Our focus tonight, as I said, is basically toddler onwards for the primary classes. And we're really looking at practical takeaways that stakeholders can really ensure that their schools implement these steps, or what are the checks that they really must have for themselves, as well as what should they really pick up on. Allow me to first at this point go to PK Jain, who's a former additional DGP. Thank you so much, PK Jain, for joining us. My first question to you: parents were made to wait for 12 hours before filing an FIR. 12 hours. The FIR is heartbreaking to think that a 4-year-old child would have had to speak like that to her parents. But as a former top cop, what do you look at the biggest lapses in this case?
Thank you very much, Sneha. There are a lot of lapses both on the part of the school as well as the police administration. The lady senior police inspector of the Badlapur police station, being a lady, was not sensitive enough, and she had put the parents and the child to such a trauma. It's absolutely indefensible. I have no words to say about the callous approach and in fact, the criminal approach of this lady. She has been rightly placed under suspension, and I wish, had I been in that seat, I would have ensured that she is dismissed from service. If a lady cannot respond to a child's travail, then what kind of a response are we looking at in the police force? So that's the first. Second is, as far as school is concerned, there is no reason everywhere, in fact, all over the state, it has been now made mandatory even for the buses which and the vehicles which ferry the children to the school. For as long as 15 minutes to about 45 minutes, there have to be male and female attendants in the bus. Why should the school employ a male temporary worker to look after the children or to take them to the washroom or be a cleaner in the washroom where the young girls and children are going? I mean, they should have employed a female employee for that. You have already cited cases where even female employees have abused the children, but the possibility of such cases would be comparatively much less as compared to a male employee taking advantage of the small young children. The school had CCTVs were non-functional. I mean, there's no reason. These days, all these things have become so damn cheap. I mean, there's no reason why the school would not have kept that particular system functional. So there are lot many lapses. Fortunately, it was the child who took the initiative and informed his parents and the school about the abuse that he was or she was going through. And that's why the entire thing came to light. Probably otherwise, maybe the accused himself would have probably thought that these are two small children and they would not be able to put out what he's doing to them. We are only lucky that the abuse has stopped at this stage.
Right.
But it is absolutely heartbreaking. It is absolutely, I go numb if you ask me as a senior police officer, and I cannot fathom why there was such a response on the part of that senior PI who
Right.
handled this case in the beginning. FIR would have been the launching occasion for this action. Immediately the person should have been arrested and booked, and all whatever medical report, medical examination, medical evidence should have been collected. I mean, all this delay has caused probably an irreparable damage to the case already. But I'm sure that with all the POXO sections and the sections that we have in the IPC now, the case will be taken to its logical end. I only hope the senior officers are now involved. I hope that some sense it prevails.
Right.
And it also, as you asked me as to what can be done. In fact, there should be very clear-cut guideline for the police officers down the line.
I'll get back to you. So I'll get back to you on that. Let me also just get the introductory remarks of other panelists as well, and I'll get back to you, sir. Dr. Sudha Acharya, you're a head of several schools. What is wrong with schools? I mean, from CCTV footage, from CCTVs to complaint boxes, to women attendance for washrooms. These are just basic practical things that schools are told over and over again. The fact that they are non-existent, they go non-checked, what's the way out? And this is not, I mean, from what I know, this is a reputed school again. It's not like, this shouldn't happen in any school for that matter, but this was a reputed school is what I'm told again.
Yeah, of course. And parents as equal stakeholder have all the right to know what are the facilities school is providing to their child to deliver quality education. I'm surprised and appalled to know that a male staff is accompanying girl children to washroom. This is unbelievable. I mean, we have safety walk every month and parents are partner in this safety walk. They come and take walk with us. There are suggestion books and a CCTV camera are operational. It has to be operational in every part of the school, and no child has to be left unattended at any point of time during the school hours. Here, the male staff, how come the male staff has access to girls' toilet? This is not believable at all. So SOP is not in place. That is obvious from the case as I understand. But parents would have.
What are the SOPs? Could you tell us so parents know that these are the SOPs? Irrespective of which school you go, CBSE, non-CBSE, government, private, give us the key SOPs that are in place. Parents or anybody must check on this. Give us the SOPs. Let the parents know.
Yeah, the standard operating procedure is camera has to be operational everywhere. And while going to toilet or washroom, in such young children, we don't leave them alone. If one child is requesting any teacher for going to washroom, we have a buddy system. So another child accompanies and a lady staff. Every class has been associated with a lady conservancy staff, and the sweepers come at the end of the school, or when the children are not in the washroom, then only they can clean the washroom. They are nowhere available to the children during the school hour. No stranger, and all conservancy staff have been police verification has been done. They have I-card. Their all verification is done, and all particulars are with the school. And children are familiar with these staff. So no stranger at all. And as you said, we show these children bad touch and good touch through Childline, through comics, through cartoons and all those things. And children understand very well. So I'm so happy that these two children, they could know that something wrong is happening and they could at least tell their parents. But I'm very surprised that how the SOP is not in place and how a male staff is accompanying. Even in bus, we have conservancy staff, a male staff, a lady staff, both. Male staff may remain absent, but without a lady staff, buses cannot ply at all. flying through the bus and coming down from the bus, going to the classroom. Everywhere, children are accompanied by an adult who is responsible, whose whereabout we are very, very sure. So this is one case which we are all really surprised how it is happening. And parents could have made sure, like PTA
Abinaya
or any
KC, if I can
other
get you.
occasion, when the parents are coming inside the school, they should find out who are there in the corridor. Is there any lady staff in the corridor? Who is manning the girls' toilet and all? Whenever they are coming to the school, parents are thick and thin partner of the school. So they are coming inside the school for so many occasions. We are doing so many activities. On several occasions, they are coming to the school. They should ensure that lady conservancy staffs are there to take care of their girl children.
Right. Abinaya KC, if I can get you in, Abinaya KC. Particularly for toddlers and say primary classes, what's increasingly emerging also is the fact that sexual abuse is not gender specific. Often it transcends.
Absolutely.
There are, of course, instances where the girls as victims or survivors are being reported more, at least in public domain. But records say that even boys are as well, young boys, toddlers in schools are also victims of sexual abuse. Now, for parents watching, what must be communicated? You know, even if you're looking at, say, 2 to 8 age group, it's a big expanse. Communication changes at every few months. But basically, how early should parents begin, and what should they be saying?
Right. So, we have been teaching children about, body boundaries, and also like, I just want to take this forum to say that, the terms good touch and bad touch aren't really very appropriate to use, because what can be a bad touch can feel good. And children are not critically, their brains are not critically developed to analyze that, what is safe and what is touch and what is not bad touch. So I would also request people to start using the term what is safe touch and what is not safe touch. While I say this again, the very first point that I want to make is that the onus is not on the children. The onus should
I
not
must say,
be on
I
the
did not know
children.
about this.
Thank you. Yeah, I learned it recently too, after I became parent. So I think we are all learning. So the onus is not on the children. Even now in this Badlapur case that we are talking about, we come to know about this because the child had to come forward and say what happened to the child. So that to me is a failure of the system. And that means, the child has been put in a place where the child has to take care of themselves and the child has to report it. I'm not saying children shouldn't be allowed to report or whatever, but I think that, the system has to be better. If parents are watching this, I would really urge them to ask their schools, ask their respective schools that, what is the child safety policy that the school has in place? Because International Convention of Child Rights in India is a signatory.
But what should they look out? What should they look out for when you are asking them to ask the question that what are the child safety measures in place? What should they be looking out for?
The safety of the child is a collective responsibility, and I believe it cannot be based on the one person. For example, what we are discussing with respect to what happened in Badlapur is about, okay, we install the CCTV, okay, we make sure that the female staffs are accompanying and all that, but that is not the only area in a school where the problems arise. I think the children are left vulnerable in most of the places. For example, that there is also in Akola where a 22-year teacher has shown porn to children, a group of 6 or 8 children, and then the teachers do it. This is not only about the genders. So I would think that companies, many corporate companies have a mandatory drill of training courses every year, which is drilled into them, which is like prevention of sexual harassment and work at workplace or something like this. I think every school should follow this in a mandatory way, and this shouldn't be limited to teaching staff. I don't mind if it's a teaching staff or an attender or an admin who's doing it, and schools should start speaking about them for 2 major reasons. One is to uphold the standard, a minimum standard that I'm talking about. I'm talking about a very bad minimum standard. Even, I go to the very reputed schools, I look at their websites, there is absolutely nothing on the child safety policy. They talk about, how well you coach the children, what kind of extracurricular activities they have, and all this. But is the safety of my children? Where is the safety of all our children? That's my question. So for two major reasons, I think this has to be done. One is to uphold that they have a minimum safety plan in place, and second one is everybody has to be kept in check. The potential perpetrators has to be kept in check, that they need to be warned of that this is a thing with the school, and we need to keep talking about it. In spite of being a signatory body, less than 1% of Indian schools do have a child policy plan in action. And why is this happening in spite of it? Where are the policies? And also like to say, one person is not enough.
Okay.
So for many decades, we haven't had a lot of counselors in the school to talk about mental health issues. I'm glad that we are coming to it. But again, that is just one of, what can be done after things have happened. But what do we do before things go wrong? That's the first thing that I would like to look at. And we need layered protection,
Okay.
and one person and having
Okay.
one female attendant is not really enough.
Okay. All right. So in fact, let me just take it from where Abinaya has left it. Geetanjali, can I have you in at this point? Ms. Geetanjali Kumar? Abinaya made an interesting point. We look at what can be done after something happens. What should be really done before something happens? What will you tell parents?
Yes. So the focus should be more on the preventive program, so that we don't need to witness a 4-year-old girl going back home and telling parents, what did Dada do? So I would definitely go by what she was saying, that we already have certain procedures in hand with us. Where is the child sexual abuse committee in school, which needs to meet every month, which needs to have lot of promotional programs, awareness programs, sensitization programs for students, for teaching staff, for non-teaching staff. It should constitute students as members, teachers as members, parents as members of it. We're talking about safety policies. The NCCR manual on safe schools is already there on the public portal. There are straightforward points written on it. So when the parents need to know, parents need to go through those checklists.
Who holds the schools accountable?
One of the questions. Sorry? We all will have to hold the school accountable for what is happening in the school. Yes, the government has norms for it. There has to be regular checks on it. Monitoring has to happen. The CSA committee constitutes parent representatives also. If parent is a member of that committee, that's what we need to be aware of, our rights and responsibilities both. And as a child, I will fully agree, good touch and bad touch, no. Appropriate touch and inappropriate touch. Where I cannot be touched, the child, a 2-year-old child, will have to be educated on it. How dare Dada touch me at some point of my body? I need to know. And that 5-rule policy of saying no, running, screaming, not letting it happen. Children have to be taught. They have to be drilled. They have to be enacted upon. ऐसा हो तो क्या करना है? कैसे बोलना है? How do you shout and say no to it? I would definitely go by the point, yes, peer is to be there.
Can I ask you? I'm sorry. I don't think I had spoken to you about this. We had not had this. But Geetanjali Kumar, would you be willing to share the 5 rule with us? Can you do it for us?
Yes, the first rule says no secret. So there is no secret of what happened, when it happened. The first rule is no secret rule, no secret rule, no non-consent rule. If I am touched, I need to say yes to it. I have a right to say. The third rule is no rule. The fourth is I can deny the presence of a company, of an adult who makes me feel uncomfortable. The child needs to be taught that which touch I need to say no to it. Very rightly, the child can be allured that it is pleasurable. But it is not. The child does not have the adequate vocabulary or the adequate awareness. You very rightly said in the beginning that the innocent child perhaps doesn't know what harm that it has caused upon the child. So these five no rule needs to be practiced everywhere. Very, very diligently we'll have to keep reminding the children of this no policy, of saying no. The child has a right to say no, I don't want to go there. I don't like it there. And the no part needs to be explored. Why does the child say no? And secondly, I feel lot of thrust needs to be given on the sensitization of
a lot of parents would have this question.
See,
Very quick, possibly a minute,
deterrence.
because I have Advocate Anubha Srivastav who's waiting for us. But I'm going to ask you a second sequel question, very quick one, a minute to you to answer this. Now, ordinarily, a child likes one adult over the other. So the child would say, you know, when the handover is happening, say playtime, food time, one adult is a preferred adult, the other is not. So obviously the child would throw a tantrum, not want to go to the other adult. Now, how do you help the child differentiate, or how do you set the boundaries that one is a normal course and one is a non-normal course? How does the child differentiate? Is the child capable of differentiating?
The child can be taught to identify the flag sign. There's a process called as grooming. The perpetrator is actually working upon after targeting a particular child. So the way the child is being allured into it, it's actually like a hunter trying to hunt. So the child has to be taught to see the flag signs, to understand the grooming process, and to be taught when to say no, how to say no, and how to scream and say no. Very, very important for these little children to do. Trust me, I do these circle time activities in schools with these little girls, and they are keen to learn. They learn and practice. They are able to distinguish the tickle of the finger when a waiter is trying to give them a glass of soft drink. The girl wants to hold it in the tray.
Do you do it
the
only
waiter
with
does not
girls,
let
or
it
do you
happen.
also do it with boys?
A 5-year-old can distinguish. No. Separately with girls, separately with boys, and then a session together with both of them, because both of them need to learn to respect each other, learn to maintain boundaries, respect each other's boundaries.
Okay.
Just have to be
Advocate Anubha
sensitized.
Srivastav, thank you for your patience.
The support staff needs to
As
be
a parent,
sensitized.
right. As a parent, Anubha Srivastav, how are you looking at all of this? How do you maneuver your way around? How do other parents around you? Because you're also part of an association, you're a president of an association. How do parents look at all of this? Do you have your checks in place? Do you check on the schools where your children are going? Is this discussed? Is this spoken about?
Thank you for having me on this show and for taking up this matter, which is a very serious issue. And it is happening every day. I think many cases are not being even reported. There are several schools, there are several children who are so afraid and so scared that they don't even report. They don't even tell their parents, because they are being threatened by the perpetrator or whoever is doing all such activities. Many children, they don't report. So these incidents are happening, I would say, daily, but not are being reported. The incidents which are being reported by children, and when there is an outrage, then only action is being taken. In this case also, after 12 hours, the FIR was filed. After the outrage, all the protests which happened, after that, the authorities, they took action. That is totally unacceptable. We are not implementing all the guidelines which are in place, be it by Honorable Supreme Court. There are several safety guidelines in place, which is by NCPCR also. We have so many laws in place, but nothing is happening. CCTV cameras are, if CCTV cameras are not functional, why the education officer of that particular district or area is not inspecting the school? He should also be punished equally. Not only that police officer, the school administration and management, education officer, and all those who are involved, the municipal commissioner, that particular area, Right to Education Act, he has the power. State government has the power. Local authority has been given the power. What are they doing? If implementation is not happening, then all the authorities must be punished. Until unless we will punish the authority, these things will happen.
What do you do is also what I want to know. What do you do as a parent, as an association of parents? How do you look at this issue? from
as a parent,
being part of stakeholders?
yeah. See, as a parent, if I am an innocent parent, I don't know about laws and all. I am not aware about what what powers I have, what rules are there for my child. There are several parents who are not aware. There is lack of awareness. So if I am an unaware parent, I don't know what to do, where to go, whom to complain. No, there are several schools where we don't know whether the PTA is in place or not. Parents don't even know the full form of PTA. That there is an association. I know about the rules and laws and all the regulations which are in place, so I know whom to approach. But as a normal parent, I don't know where to go, whom to approach, where to complain. So that's why awareness is the key.
Right.
What we demand from the authorities, what we demand from the school, we demand from all stakeholders that we all have to come forward. As a stakeholders, we all are stakeholders. We all have to come forward to save our children. If a school is not following all the guidelines, the CCTVs are not in place, close that school or take over that school. Why such policies cannot be implemented?
Okay.
Take over that school. Now, once your business is down, definitely schools will start following all these guidelines. And as a parent association, definitely I will raise up this issue on all the channels, and I will also write to NCPCR to make certain strict regulations against the school authorities, against the principal and
no,
the
totally understand. I totally understand your perspective as a parent as well. I'm running out of time, but there are some 2-3 important questions. So let's just very quickly go to my panel. Abinaya KC, like we heard Geetanjali speak, how early should one start teaching these things to children? How early is not early?
I think ideally I shouldn't have to teach my children this. Ideally, I shouldn't have to teach any children this. I think that, our children need to have a prolonged childhood. I believe that, we shouldn't be. I know it is very unfortunate we are teaching them, but I think they shouldn't be, because we have to build a situation, build a system where children are not in honest, because the primary purpose why children go to school is to learn. And if I have to think about 100 things, if I have to think about my safety, if my brain is looking for survival in the environment, how is that going to enrich the learning that I'm going to have in the school? The primary requirement of the children
that's
going
one
to school
failure.
is not being.
But if you have to operate in that failed system, which in many cases one is, how early should one begin?
I think as soon as at least minimum of 2. And there's another thing that I want to talk about is that only when we talk about this body boundaries or consent, it always happens that we talk about it only with an angle of something sexual involved. But I think this has to be started as early as home, even when we are talking to children about anything else, right? It can be a consent, where the child decides that I am an individual person and I have the rights to say yes and no about my body. And we kind of overpower children in many other way. We don't give them the space to talk about a lot of things. We don't give them the space to say no, like the counselor ma'am said, but only when it comes to this, we think that they have to stand up to the perpetrator and say no and fight the whole world. But I think this is a little inappropriate expectation we have, because again, that people who are the bad elements, people who have bad intentions do not come like wolves. They come like people. And I think this is a hard job on tiny brains to differentiate
that's
and
an
find out. I
important
think
point.
the base is that, yes. Yeah.
Right.
I think
Geetanjali Kumar, very quickly to you, Geetanjali Kumar, again, the impact of violence, of violation on children, young girls, young boys. Would you want to spend a minute and a half on it? It's too less a time, but at least let's begin.
It is immense and tremendous, a breach of trust, loyalty. It is a lifetime scar. They are emotionally hurt. It's a baggage they carry, a trauma which doesn't heal them. They are unable to build up and sustain lifelong relationships. In my private practice, I come across clients married, not happily able to lead their marriage. Now as a parent, they are overprotective about their children, because every day the parent is going through the trauma when she sees the child growing up. So lot of burden and scar they carry, which last a lifetime. I agree that it is difficult, it is unfortunate, but those little girls will have to learn. Rather, all our little children will have to learn what is safe and what is not safe for them, what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. No consent. I don't like to sit in that uncle's lap in the car. Please, mama, I will not sit in that uncle's lap. We'll have to educate our children to say that. Unfortunately, our parents are also at times committing this mistake. In this case, yes, it's a school's folly, but I come across such cases where out of ignorance, our parents are pushing our children towards such unfortunate experiences.
Okay. Dr. Sudha Acharya,
so a lot of
very
education
quickly, if you
and
could,
a lot of
I want
nurturance
to
is required
spend
at our children's end.
Right. Dr. Sudha Acharya, we are entering admission season where parents are going to be knocking the doors of schools. To parents and schools, your three big points.
When you are joining a school, the school's policy, like the other panelists were saying that school have no child safety policy. For me, child safety policy measures have to be loud and clear, defined in the school almanac. It has to be displayed in the school website. It is mandatory. What school safety measures I have in place, and parents need to be oriented. Many a times we call parents and talk to them, even our peer educators, the senior students, they go to the youngsters and talk to them. What is right, what is wrong? Many a times our children come and confide in the teachers that what is happening, some sexual harassment is happening at home, and that they confide to teachers. So many a times we call the parents and inform them. So through role play also, we tell them what is appropriate, what is inappropriate measures, because if a child is oversensitized, it happened so in one of the school, the swimming coach was trying to to teach swimming to the child, and the coach is holding the child like this. So the child thought that why the coach is touching me. So the parent came running. So this is oversensitizing. So we have to really appropriately teach them through role play, continuously having dialogue with the parents, and the safety walk. I am again telling parents are partners and they should see that whether the CCTV cameras are working or not, what kind of contingency staff the school is maintaining, and whether all the safety programs are in place or not. So the teachers continuously go through. Geetanjali ma'am is there. She has trained my teachers many times in my school. She has come and oriented our nursery parents also. So this has to be a continuous dialogue with parents. They should be aware about their demands. Parents should know what they are expecting, and school should make it loud and clear what role school has in the child safety measures. In our case in Delhi, I am leading a school in Delhi where every month I have to give the report that all my safety measures are in place. So there are many checks and balances. So if we follow that, this kind of untoward incident would not be repeated in future.
Absolutely. Totally out of time. I want to take the last word from PK Jain. And one of the panelists, Abinaya, in our show said, most of these assaulters, violators, they don't come as wolves. They come as people, as ordinary human beings. And I guess it's in between of all of this that men and women in uniform have a very important role to play, even as you have some very strong rules, including POCSO in place. But the police has a very, very strong role to break the cycle of abuse. PK Jain.
Yeah. So the only thing I can say is that prompt and very, very effective action is the key to everything. Once the perpetrators know that the law goes after them without any mercy whatsoever, the message goes across very, very fast. So what happens is that we are caught in the rigmarole of the police investigation, and then the courts, that it becomes an extremely traumatic experience overall for the parents as well as for the child. And the schools become extremely protective about their staff. My experience has been that the moment there's an incident like this, the school goes on the defensive and then tries to hide the incident from the parents and from the law enforcement authorities. So what happens is that quick action against whoever is responsible, whether it is the employee concerned or a daily wager or the school management, everybody should be taken to task. One of the co-panelists had said that Why only the police, the school inspector, the local municipal authorities, whoever is
Right.
supposed to control and visit that school and supervise its functioning, they all must be held accountable, and this accountability has to be enforced. Unfortunately, nothing happens to government officials, nothing happens to the supervisory officers, and it is only between the victim, the school, and the police. It all is left to these three institutions. So my only take on this is strong, a
Right.
very strong, stern, and quick, immediate action is the key to curbing such offences in future. Sneha.
Right. Geetanjali Kumar, Dr. Sudha Acharya, Abinaya KC, Advocate Anubha Srivastava, as well as PK Jain, thank you very much for your time. This has been an
Namaskar.
important
Thank you.
conversation, and I do hope we've empowered our viewers and ourselves as well. Thank you very much. Together, we believe we will break the cycle of abuse. Time for a very short break. On the other side, we'll bring you the latest.